Okay, we're back with episode 10 of the Dirt Beers podcast with your hosts, Jonathon and Beef. This week we got two guests in one episode. A little special thing for our 10th episode. You know, we're getting up there in the numbers, so we doubled the guests. We got Connor Wade and Jaxon Steele from Dirt Vision. Welcome back, guys, and thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We always we love Dirt Beers. Jackson shares your posts just about every day.
Yeah.
As much as I can, or at least look at them. I was on Dirt Beers before Jackson was, so I have that.
You were on there twice for me.
I guess. No, we're pumped to be on. We love what you guys do.
Awesome. Well, I know we just talked about it. You guys are not going to partake, but me and Jonathan here, we got a little tradition. We like to crack a beer at the beginning of every episode. Jonathan's back on the glass bottles. I'm on the Michelob's tonight.
Enjoy.
Sometimes you gotta have the glass bottles. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think I actually like bottled beer better more often.
I'm with you on the bottled beer. I'm with you 100%. It tastes so much.
It's just more refreshing out of the fridge.
We'll have to join you guys and whenever we come up to Canada and New York area.
100%. We're gonna get to the Canadian trip a little bit later in the episode, but we'll start off with just learning a little bit about you guys at the beginning of the episode, like we do with every other guest. If each of you want to tell us how old you are and where you grew up, where you were born, and maybe where you're living now.
You take this one out.
So I'm from Savannah, Missouri. I'm 26. I moved out here in 2020 when I started working for the Outlaws. I kind of got, asked to come do a contract job as a camera guy for Dirt Car Nationals in 2020, and then they said, we'll use that as a tryout to see if you want to keep doing it, and I haven't left since. So I've been in Concord area for a couple years when I first moved out here. Then I've lived in Mooresville for a year, and then now me and my fiance, we live probably 5 minutes up the road from here now.
I just turned 21 last week. I grew up in Marion, Illinois, small town in Southern Illinois. My dad owned sprint cars. My great-grandpa was in the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame. So I was born into the sport, been around sprint cars my entire life. And I was just a loudmouth kid that never shut the hell up growing up. You didn't know me then, but I guess you think I still am now. So somebody eventually was like, hey, we should give this kid a microphone and let him interview people. So I started doing some interviews and posting them on like Facebook and YouTube. And that led to getting a gig at 11 years old to be track announcer, Southern Illinois Raceway, my local micro track. So I started there and then have kind of worked my way up the system ever since. Power A Midgets, Lucas Oil late models, came to Dirt Vision World Racing Group as a contractor in 2023, did Extreme Midgets and Hell Tour and some World Outlaws late model stuff for a year, and then got brought on full time, moved to North Carolina last year when I started covering the sprint cars, and here I am. So it's been quite a ride. I'm only 21 and we did the math today. I guess I've been doing this officially like half my life now, so crazy to think about.
It's wild. It's like, you look at your name and your age on a paper and you're like, I don't know if you got that much experience in this. And then you start adding up the years of doing it and starting, it's kind of funny that you say it that way. It's almost like these race car drivers now that are starting at 11 years old in go-karts and in micros and stuff, and then you just keep pursuing it all the way. You kind of did that the broadcasting route. So, Connor, you mentioned having the history with your family. Was there ever a temptation for yourself to get in the race car? Did you try it out at all and decide it wasn't for you?
Well, yeah, a lot of people don't know this. I am a former feature winner in junior sprints at SIR. The track.
Nice.
Yeah. My parents didn't want me to go the driving route. It's obviously pretty dangerous. And I really didn't care, honestly, too much. I just wanted to be at the track and involved somehow. So once I picked up a microphone, there was no going back.
Nice. Jackson, was there any time when you got behind the wheel? Were you maybe a go-kart superstar just like Connor?
Yeah, I would say I think when I was probably 8 years old, 7 years old, my dad got a go-kart and brought it home. This is so we had a track called Thunder Lake Speedway. It was right around the corner from Lakeside Speedway there in Kansas City, and go-karts every other Saturday maybe, and we started doing that. We did it full time for like 2 years, I think. And the first year, I think I won the track championship. We won a lot of races, and then we traveled a little bit. Danny Lasowski used to have a go-kart track in Warrensburg. I went and ran down there once, and then it, just gets too expensive and all that. So we kind of got out of that, and then of course I got into playing football and playing basketball. and all that. But I've had the racing bug ever since I was born. I mean, we had a sprint car track that ran 410s every week, 5 minutes away from my house in Savannah. They would run Friday night 410s, and all the Knoxville guys would come down and race. So
We scratch our racing itch once a year at Slideways. They have a league night.
Yeah.
We sure and race against each other. So that's the one time a year that we're competitive.
and I made the feature, the league night feature last year for the first time. That is quite possibly one of my biggest accomplishments.
Count it. That's what I like to hear. I got to know, in terms of your jobs in racing, Connor, it kind of sounds like you had a lot of real world experience that you brought to it, but was there any kind of schooling process that was either required of you or asked of you, or did you kind of bring skills you already had to the racing world?
Not for me. I have not spent a day of college in my life. I was actually doing, obviously, stuff at SIR, announcing on the PA when I was 11. So I was still in probably fifth or sixth grade. And then, like, there have been 2 points in my life when I seriously considered going to college, and both times got talked into staying and working on a full-time basis. So no, I was doing stuff when I was in high school and before, and honestly and Jaxon can probably attest to this, but like the best way to learn about what we do, whether it's on air or behind the scenes, is to just get out there and do it. You're going to learn a whole lot more by actually doing it than sitting in a classroom for 4 years. So that was the approach I took. And hey, like one day, if this doesn't work out, I might look like a freaking idiot for not going to college. But right now it's working to this point, and you just got to keep working hard and put the work in.
Awesome.
I didn't go to college either. I went for like a year and a half and then dropped out. Didn't really know what I was doing, and then kind of just found my way here. It's kind of a fluke deal, honestly, for me.
Mm-hmm. But Jaxon, obviously you did a little more work with like behind the scenes on camera work compared to Connor, who was on the mic. When did you start getting into filming and videography? Is that a passion you've always had?
Not really, to be honest. I took my senior year of high school. We had a broadcasting class, and we would put together like a weekly broadcast that we send all the teachers, and each class would watch it at some point in the day. Kind of really enjoyed doing that. And then, when I did go to college for the 3 semesters I was there, they had me on the newspaper, and that really wasn't my cup of tea. So I kind of got out of that. And then when I kind of ended up here, my love for broadcast and, being creative, really, that's really what it comes down to. Being creative, that kind of lit the fire under my ass and kind of motivated me to, just keep putting out good product and just keep making cool shit. Cool shit patrol is what we used to call it.
I love that. Connor, I got to know, for myself, who is a track announcer right now, and I've only had the opportunity to kind of do the full broadcasting thing like once or twice. There was one time during COVID where they tried to get me to kind of do like a trackside report, and it was my first time in front of camera, and I froze. I panicked. I never really realized how much work it really is to be one of those trackside guys and to do it on camera and have to like actively be a face, but also be a voice. So for you starting out young, how long was it that you were developing before you had that opportunity to be on camera? And was it a natural fit for you, or was it something that you struggled with at the beginning?
Let's see. So I think I did like announcing from the booth just on the PA for, I want to say 4 to 5 years before I did anything as a pit reporter, at least on a regular basis. I may have pit reported a show here or there, but as far as doing that regularly and being on camera, I don't recall it taking long for me to get used to that. Honestly, in my opinion, it's almost easier. You're doing a report for, maybe a minute, 2 minutes, or an interview, as opposed to talking on a microphone for, consecutive hours at a time. And it's funny, I tell people this and they think I'm absolutely crazy. I was just telling somebody last night this. If I'm doing a report and there's a camera in front of me, I'm not nervous at all. It's easy because in my mind, it's just me and the camera. But like, if you took the camera away and you put me in a large group setting with a bunch of people, I would be nervous and I'd stutter and I wouldn't know what the hell I was doing. And so for me, like in my head, it's just me and the camera, and it's easy. I don't think about the fact that there's people actually watching it.
Yeah, fair enough.
So take us through what your typical week during the season looks like working at Dirt Vision. What's the travel like? What's the deal like when you get to the racetrack? Is there things that you're doing before the broadcast even starts? And then just take us through the night as it progresses.
Well, I'll start with this, and then I'm going to let him do the play-by-play. There is not a second of our week from the moment we go to the airport to fly out till we fly home. There's not a second that we're not busy doing something. Even if, on the rare occasion that we do get a chance to like go out and have a nice sit-down dinner or catch a ball game or a concert or something on the road, even in those moments and every moment outside, we're always on the go doing something.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of so, right. We have our schedule's so big and so long. Like we break it up into sections. Like from now until the start of May, really, it's rather relaxed. Like him and I got a pretty good program going. We'll drive to wherever track we're racing. We'll race as soon as that's done, because most of the time early in the year we're 2 days at the same track onto the next one. We'll race, we'll tear down. Saturday night after the race, we're driving all the way to the next track, park, fly home, and then come back on Thursday. Kind of works out better for us. I much rather personally, when I'm flying home and then flying back for the next race, I'd rather my stuff already be there and not have to fly back to the last track, and then start setting up. But typically, we meet Johnny at the track on Thursdays. Depending on the track, it's usually like if it's a Peevely, we're not there super early in the day. It's kind of a couple hours setting up, running cables, setting up the cameras. Places we go usually every year, maybe more than once a year, it's pretty easy. We got it down pat. But like you go to a place like Jacksonville, for example, which is a little bit tougher for Dirt Vision, just like for us to do a setup. We got a little more complex cable runs, cameras go in a different spot. We'll be there most of the day Thursday, but and then throughout the night, once we get everything set up on race day, we'll check our audio at 3:00 in the afternoon, do a quick pre-race rehearsal at about 4:30-ish going in, and then once we're on the air, that's the easy part, is when we're on the air and we're off and running.
So when you are traveling with the Dirt Vision crew, we kind of got a good sense of what it's like to follow the Outlaw schedule when we had Doug Leonard on, the series director. In terms of from the broadcast crew and the Dirt Vision crew, what does your team look like, and how well are you guys able to kind of stay together on the road and travel together as like a team and as a unit?
Well, I mean, the team is... there's probably 7 to 8 Dirt Vision. There's 8 of us on a team, that are employees. This is the sprint car team.
Yeah.
Him and I.
So it's usually him and I, and we have a rotating cast of people, like one of our camera guys, Cody Klein, who's sitting right across from us. Our late model producer, Kate Sharp, who's right over here.
So you guys have an audience. We didn't know that.
They usually cover late models, and whenever the late models are off, if it makes sense, they'll come out and spend a weekend with us and help us. Jackson's freaking awesome at doing stuff on his own, and essentially kind of running the show by himself. And, whenever we're setting up, I jump in and help the best I can, but, my knowledge of technical side isn't as much as his. But we're a good team. But most of the time, I would say 80% of the time, it's he and I on the road and up and down the white and yellow lines and in and out of airports and hotels and shitty restaurants and all that good stuff. So we need time together.
And usually, like, obviously your Kings Royals, your Dirt Car Nationals, your, Knoxville Nationals, all that stuff. We get like Cody or Cade to come support us. They'll come out, and obviously for an event like Knoxville, it's all hands on deck. And, Cade's usually coming out with us to California to help me drive, because, that drive is killer, and it's killer. So having those guys able to help us, it's great. It's kind of a two-way street. We try to help them out as much as we can, but we're booked on we don't.
Yeah.
So our weekends are usually booked.
Yeah. So speaking of that, being on the road all the time, traveling in and out of airports, truck stops, all that stuff. What you each maybe have a different answer, but what is your favorite quick meal to pick up on the road?
I'm a big sheets guy. I don't know if you guys know what those are. I would say
Yeah.
Jonathon definitely does. Being from New York. I'm a big sheets guy. It's rare to find an In-N-Out, really only whenever we go to Texas or California. But when we are in Texas and California, I go to In-N-Out just about every day. But sheets is definitely, as much as we're in PA, 38 times a year, I feel like. Definitely love to hit up a sheets.
Couldn't agree more. We are big believers in sheets.
Nice.
Not a Rudders guy. I like their chocolate milk, but not a Rudders guy.
I can agree with the Sheets. I've been up and down the road a little bit myself, and I would agree. When we stop at a Sheets, I'm pretty happy. Not gonna lie.
You're gonna get.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
you're every time. So
Yeah.
Is that a old Williamson crew favorite? Their beef? I know that's probably the
Sheets-
most
Sheets
traveling was
on-
with them, right?
Yeah, Sheets was on the list pretty frequently.
Nice. I like it. In terms of your own schedules and where you guys have to hit on the Outlaws tour, do you have tracks that you are kind of looking forward to most? Do you have favorites on the schedule that you have either maybe grown on you the longer you've gone to them, or has there been anything that immediately jumped out as a favorite for yourself?
my favorite, and it has really been since I started here, is Peebly. I mean, when you are building a sprint car track, you would want it to be just like Peebly. Like Peebly is the best. You know, I've grown to love going to Lincoln and Pennsylvania, anything in California. I love, and I'm not just saying that because my fiance is from there and grew up out there, but I love racing in California. I think all those tracks are great. Tulare, Merced, Paris, we're going back this year. Really heartbroken about losing the Oildale track in Bakersfield. That place really underrated, in my opinion. But you know, Peebly's is the best track, in my opinion.
It's up there for me. I grew up going to Peebly a ton, just being from originally so close to St. Louis. Hobstad, Indiana has a long time been my favorite racetrack in the country since I was, 9 years old. It hasn't changed. So our one trip a year to Hobstad is the one day that I pray for no rain. Most days I pray for no rain, but that's the one that especially I'm like, just got to get that one in. I had never actually, it was weird, the longest time I had never been to Eldora. I didn't go to Eldora until about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And I mean, I know it's an obvious answer. It's one that everybody probably picks, but the hype is real, honestly. I love that place. Jacksonville, where we're going to in Illinois, put on the best race we had last year. So, and then I got to see a bunch of new places. We always hear Johnny talk about River City as being his favorite racetrack. I got to finally go there last year. And then honestly, I think one that we've got to give a shout out to in terms of one that's grown on us is Huset's. You know, ever since Todd Queering bought that place, he's put a ton of work, not only into the facility, but the racetrack as well. And, you know, you've seen that place in the past have its struggles with taking rubber. This year, like, we had, I guess, 3 sprint car races there in a row.
They were great.
Plus the one in June, didn't take rubber a single time. And we watched a lot of the weekly shows there too, and the racetrack was great. So we're both really impressed with the product that Huset's has kind of figured out with their racetrack. And I think we're going to see some banger races whenever we go there in June.
Yeah, Todd, Doug, and Taylor, who does the track prep, those guys got it going on out there. I mean, the facility, like Connor said, they built their Big Game Motorsports shop right up on top of the hill. You know, that it's incredible. It's kind of hard, you know, when you get to going, when your track list gets up there in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, hard to pick out 5 of them you've been to because, he just sitting there talking about it like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about Hobstadt. You know, we go to Hobstadt, even Huset's like that. We love going to Huset's too now. And like, we go to some tracks for the first time this year. Like we're both really looking forward to going to Osh Weekend. We're not just saying that because you guys are, we're talking, eyeing to go to Osh Weekend for years. I am so excited for that. That's going to,
Magnolia back.
yeah, Magnolia's back on the schedule this year. And that's like we call that place black ice when it gets slick. And that place is really awesome.
Nice. Speaking of Osh Weekend, you know, we're both Canadian. The track's only an hour from us. I mean, my team, we race there every Friday, 360 sprints. So we're excited to have you guys coming back up. But I want to know, is there excitement among the Dirt Vision crew, and maybe even if you felt it from the drivers, to come back into Canada after being away for so many years?
100%. And look, like, let's be upfront about some things. Driving that far north and crossing the border can be a pain in the ass.
Oh, yeah.
But I haven't heard anybody complain about it just because of the fact that, like, everybody likes Osh Weekend. Like, you ask all of our drivers, I haven't heard anybody complain about driving up there. Just because everybody knows how cool Osh Weekend is, how good of a racetrack it is. So there's a lot of excitement, and us especially. I've never been. My earliest memories of hearing about Osh Weekend, a lot of people forget about this. Tony Stewart's first career World of Outlaws win. In fact, maybe his first 2 were at Osh Weekend. So I remember hearing about it way back then because I grew up a big Tony Stewart fan. So I was excited to hear him win an outlaw race at Schweikton. I think it's pretty cool that I get to go now. But no, everybody's really fun.
I'm, for one, actually excited to go through the whole like border crossing process. 'Cause, like, I've never done that before.
Yeah.
So, like, it's going to be something new for us. When we went to Ransomville, I think that was 2021. Last time the Outlaws were there, we went to Niagara Falls and like got to like we wanted to go across the border, but I think Canada was still a little, with their COVID protocols, so we didn't really risk it. But I've been dying to go, and Oshweeken's one of those places like that place evens the playing field. Like you could see guys run up front that aren't usually players at a lot of other places. Like you got to really have a handle on your race car to be good at Oshweeken, and I think that's going to be something really entertaining. I'm not going to count out any of the locals, especially the guys 360s. They might even put a whooping on some of our guys.
Yeah, it's getting to that point, like especially with our kind of crown jewel event with the Northern Sprint Car Nationals. Over the last few years, we've seen the local step up. Beef, you were just, we're 2 seasons removed from your driver, Mike Bowman, that you're crewing for, having one heck of a summer and racking up like 60K Canadian. So it was, it's definitely a place where all of a sudden the locals, especially I think over that COVID break, they put a lot more effort into being there on Friday nights, and they got a lot more effort into that track. So now when a guy like Sam Haferteet comes up, he's working that much harder to be competitive and go toe to toe with our local guys. So I'm really excited to see what the Outlaws can bring, and we'll see. Like you say, I think that playing field is definitely going to be leveled when the field gets up here for the first time, and maybe a lot of drivers probably first time ever driving out of Schweeken. I don't know how many guys would be left over from the last time they started there.
There's definitely a handful, I know.
David,
Schuhart would have been around last time we were up there. Probably.
I believe Sheldon's been there.
Yeah.
There'll be
some of them guys. Obviously, Donnie's been here.
Yeah, Donnie for sure.
Some of our rookies haven't been up there. Garrett Cole, not a rookie, but Baylog. I don't really know if I'm sure he has had to have been up there at some point.
Yeah. It'll be cool to see what those guys think, because there's been a lot of upgrades happen to the facility just in general, including the track. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful racetracks I've ever been to in my life. So I'm very excited for you guys to get up here, and hopefully, not just speaking for my team, but a couple of the local boys can put a little bit of a show on and try and run with you guys. But I think we're going to get into probably our favorite part of the episode here. I don't know if you guys have watched before, but we're going to get into our Rip in the Top segment and see if one of you guys can set the new quick time on the leaderboard here. I
will say, Beef, this is an interesting situation because we never had 2 guests on at the same time to do it. So I think one guy is going to end up going with a bit of a competitive advantage by knowing the questions ahead of time.
I think this is how. Well, yeah. Okay.
How are we doing this?
You guys, I think you guys should play rock paper scissors to see who goes first.
You can go first because I got to use the restroom.
All right.
Okay. Well,
this might work out perfect.
Perfect, actually. Okay. Well, we gotta be quick before he gets back. Okay, Connor. So it's 4 questions, all food and drink related. You just give them to me as fast as you can, and as soon as you answer, I'm gonna go into the next one. Okay.
Got it.
Okay. So I'm gonna count down 3, 2, 1, and then I'm gonna start.
Let's do it.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Favorite beer or drink?
Miller Lite.
Favorite truck stop snack and drink combo?
Sheets burrito.
Actually, fuck. What am I doing? We gotta restart. I didn't even start the timer.
Oh, this guy!
Oh my god! I fucked up hard there.
No, Beef.
Beef.
Okay.
2 questions now, so
I know. Okay, ready? We'll try again. 3, 2, 1. Favorite beer or drink?
I'm gonna go with Miller Lite as my favorite beer.
Favorite truck stop snack and drink combo?
Man, I'm gonna have to do a Sheets burrito bowl with probably a NOS for the road.
Top 3 pizza toppings?
Hamburger, mushroom, mozzarella cheese.
Favorite wing flavor?
Honey barbecue.
That felt pretty good.
Not bad. 24 seconds on the dot.
Ooh.
Man, I should have been. Jackson will be quicker than that. I tried to take my time.
What's my time to beat?
24 seconds.
24 seconds.
If you want to beat him, it's 24 seconds. But if you want the quick time, you got to beat 20.3 seconds set by Gordy Gundaker.
Great.
Yeah, he was quick.
Yeah.
All right, I
He
think
was quick. Okay, Jackson. So I got 4 questions, all food and drink related. I'm gonna count down 3, 2, 1, and then I'm gonna start asking, and I'll just go to the next question as soon as you finish answering the first one.
perfect.
Okay.
Let's
Got
do
the
it.
Timer. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Favorite beer or drink?
Coors Light.
Favorite truck stop, snack, and drink combo?
A turkey and cheddar Lunchable with sun chips, harvest cheddar, and a Dr. Pepper.
Top 3 pizza toppings?
Pepperoni, sausage, and hamburger.
Favorite wing flavor?
Parmesan garlic.
That felt good. Oh, what's the reaction? Oh no!
You said it?
I had sad to say you are not quick time, but it is 20.4.
Oh, I should have just said a Lunchable.
If you wouldn't have said the
Turkey and cheddar Lunchable.
That was the most detailed answer I think we've had for truck
Yeah,
stop. That was insane.
To be honest, I was not expecting the answer to be a Lunchable. Dig
Under-
into that. What's your favorite Lunchable?
just the turkey and cheddar, man. That's the
That's
good
it.
stuff.
Not the
Yeah.
pizzas.
But okay, wait. But if it comes with the Capri Sun, that's a bonus.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
fair
makes
enough.
sense. Makes
Yeah.
sense. That was surprising. Not gonna lie.
if you would have just left the chips part out, you would have had it.
Yeah.
Probably
All right.
close. Maybe. I mean, you never know. We get you back on down the road. Try again.
Gordy's got me beating that in the mustache department. So.
That is true. No, I don't think anybody's beating Gordy in that
I
department.
was gonna say that's kind of that's an elite contest.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
in a league of his own there. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get a little forward here. As a guy who's been on the mic and has said many things, usually actually in FM rock radios where they catch me saying some things that are a little questionable or maybe blooper worthy. I got to know, Connor, do you have a blooper from your time on the mic that you remember and maybe follows you around or haunts you a little bit?
I have 2.
Okay, we want both full stories.
No, we can't go into both.
I saved one of them.
Yeah, so I don't know. Can we do the second one? Can we do the one? Yeah, it was on.
It was on the air. You can talk.
So the first one was West Memphis last year, and I'm actually kind of glad you brought it up because people know about it, but I haven't actually had a chance to tell my side of the story.
Oh, perfect.
There's always 2 sides.
So this guy flips, right?
And I mean, it was a flyer.
And yeah, like
Flying.
tears everything up. The drive shaft and a bunch of other stuff fly out of the car. And I run out to, as I always do, report on the accident scene. If the driver's okay, I'll interview him. The driver was a little, and I'm going to be honest, I don't even remember who the driver was.
Garden.
Yeah, Cody Gardner, maybe.
The G6.
Yeah, so he seemed a little shaken up, so I wasn't going to interview him, but I was like, hey, like, I could still do a report on, how bad the damage is. Well, I don't typically expect other people to be in the way because typically the rule is that no crew guys are allowed on the racetrack. There was a crew guy that blew past all the officials and ran out on the racetrack whenever they were getting the guy out of the car and cleaning everything up. So I see the drive shaft laying on the racetrack, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do a report on it. And I know the drive shaft's going to be hot. It just flew out of the car. So I don't pick it up. I just kind of scoot it to where it's next to me and I can do a report on it at my feet and show it. So I'm standing there. I have my foot on it and I have the mic. The camera's framing me up. Like, we're about to go live. I've got my mic on, just waiting for the toss from Johnny. And the crew guy for this guy that ran out on the racetrack comes and just grabs the drive shaft out from underneath my foot. Was like, all right. He probably didn't realize what I was doing. But I said, like, hey, can I have that bath? Like, I'm trying to do a report on it. And if he would have just said no, I probably would have been like, all right. But he got really lippy. Started being like, oh, this is mine. This isn't yours. What are you going to do with this? He just saying a bunch of stuff. And it kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
A key detail to the story is when that guy is saying that and Connor's about to snap back at him,
So I was a
earbud with Johnny that he hears Johnny and me and the other ear cuts them out.
So when I
No.
guy, I ripped both of my ears out. So I can't hear him in my ear. I can't hear the toss from Johnny. I can't hear anything. And I start jawing back and forth with the guy, and he says something, and I basically say, I'm trying to do a fucking report and you're being a dick. And Jackson, right before I say that, Johnny throws it to me.
And I'm trying to tell Connor, hey man, hey, you're on. Connor, can you hear me? Hey, he threw it to you. And then that's when I realized what was happening. So you go. You go.
Yeah, so basically, I don't know that I'm live. I don't know that I have the toss. And like, yeah, the smart, responsible thing to do would be to never rip your ears out and also not cuss. But I was in the heat of the moment and was pissed off. And so I did both of those things. And Jackson taught me literally what you hear on air. Jackson got to the mute button as quick as he could. And literally all you hear me say is, I'm trying to do a fuck. It cuts off right there. So yeah,
Nice.
not just a little, hey, let's make sure that doesn't happen again. And yeah, I never saw the crew guy again. I don't know his name. Never like, I don't know what the deal was, but I wasn't going to steal his drive shaft. I mean, I was going to give it back. You can't blame the guy. Like, drive shafts are expensive. Like, you can't blame the guy for wanting it back, but like, don't rip it out from underneath my foot and then don't be a dick about it.
Yeah.
And then I'm not even going to get into the second one. A little too embarrassing, but just it's on Instagram somewhere. So
Nice. All right. We'll watch for that one, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you can find it. It's only from a few weeks ago. Yeah.
All right. Hang on.
Alan, right?
Everybody go digging. Tag Connor.
And back, and like moments after that, he went and gave a good report, so everybody kind of forgot about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was an all timer for sure.
And I figured he was going to be mad at me. And he kind of, after the whole F-bomb thing at the ditch, and he kind of was, but he also said, I mean, I knew that he had my back one before this, but he also did say, if you and the guy were going to fight, I was going to come down there and back you up. So
Well, there you go.
I appreciate him having my back for that.
Just sprinting through the pit area
Yeah.
from the like Dirt Vision command center, right?
There's not very many times I end up on camera in the sprint car broadcast, but I mean that probably would have been one of those times. I ended up on our broadcast one other time,
Jackson,
when Brady Bacon took out our speed shot, and then the way he landed, our fiber was kind of holding him up. So I saw, and I'm like, oh shit! And I'm running out there, and like right as our safety, or like right after our safety team's there cleaning it all up, you see me out there trying to, dislodge our fiber. I mean, never a dull moment, that's for sure.
I bet. So we'll go from Connor. We'll go to Jackson. Obviously you're not on camera, so there's no mic slip up for you or yelling and screaming at anybody. But what's the most stressful part about producing a Dirt Vision broadcast? Is there, a time where it was like you couldn't know what was going on, or you didn't hit something right, or did the wrong shot, something like that?
I mean, there's always a fat finger punch at least some point in the show. Definitely the most challenging part is like, I have one ear where I have to talk to our wireless camera guy and Connor, and then I have to have my phone close to listen to the studio and the tower, and I'm doing all that while I'm wearing my comms headset to talk to my top shooters, and then all that while I'm trying to listen to Johnny. So, I mean, that's really the hardest part, is trying to balance what I am listening to, and really, obviously, my first priority is to listen to Johnny. But there are times where when there's a camera guy trying to talk to me, I'm trying to listen to Johnny. Connor could be trying to relay something to me, and I'm like, okay, everybody, just hang on. Give me just... Definitely the most stressful part of the job, Knoxville Nationals. Just,
so many moving pieces.
There's so many moving pieces. There's so many people. It's obviously the Mecca. So, and it's the only thing going on. So, everybody's watching. And that's, in my opinion, if we don't deliver at the Knoxville Nationals and the Kings Royal, then we didn't do our job.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. From the standpoint of putting on a good show, what's something that you wish maybe the audience watching at home understood more about the broadcasting side of things? Because I'm sure you guys either maybe have unfortunately seen something on social media that's like, that dude doesn't know what they're talking about. They don't know that story. But there's got to be a few times, there are a few things that you read online and you're like, if only you knew the half of what was going on in the command center or at the racetrack or whatever.
I mean, my biggest thing is, and I don't take any of that stuff, I read it every night, almost for fun sometimes, but my biggest thing is I just want people to understand that, we're humans. We are human too. We're not going to be perfect. And a lot of these times there's nights where it's not going to go good and we don't leave till late, and then we have to go to the next track that's 4 hours down the road and set up and do it all over again. Man, we're not sleeping. Like, we're going to miss some stuff. It's hot in the middle of the summer, and there's only 2 or 3 of us at the racetrack. So like, we're human. There's stuff's going to happen in an 80, like I've always said when I've kind of been the producer, you kind of run our broadcast as a race team, right? If one night's going to go really, really good, you celebrate it that night and then you're on to the next. That's kind of how I've always thought of it.
I was going to say the same thing. We're all humans. It's never going to be 100% perfect. We're giving it our best. If we mess up, we'll acknowledge it. But at the end of the day, we're moving on to the next. That's the next interview, the next report, the next race to cut, next camera shot, next day, whatever the case may be.
Yep. Yeah. So speaking of, you guys kind of acting as a race team, if each one of you guys was a crew member on a race team, what position do you think you guys would see yourself as? Would you be a crew chief, car chief, tire guy?
He's the crew chief.
Yeah.
I'm the crew chief.
Yeah.
Connor's the car chief. He kind of takes care of the stuff that, like, in the umbrella of the broadcast, like all the tech stuff for the most part falls under me. Connor just he helps me when he can. He does a good job. He's kind of figured it out for himself, kind of how the fiber and all that stuff works. So he's my extra hand run fiber, kind of running and helping grab stuff for me.
My main focus is the show. I do a lot of stuff with the studio, and coordinate graphics and interviews and shots with them. We've got 2 guys here we've got a lot of guys here in the studio that are awesome, but 2 guys that I mainly communicate with and I'm on the phone with about, I'd say by 2 p.m. every race day, coordinating interviews, graphics, special things that we want to do and stuff like that. But if there's a crew chief, if there's a final say, it's made by this guy.
Connor, you mentioned that sort of stuff you'll do with the studio. What does your race day look like from the reporting standpoint? Are you trying to visit with every crew and every driver just to see if there's an extra story that you can talk about through the night before things get too serious while they're still unloading and whatever else? Or is that just almost not possible with some of the events that you guys have?
It is. And I'm not going to sit here and say that, sometimes we might show up late. We might, there might be something I need to go help him with. So maybe not every single day I'm able to go in and talk to every crew, but I feel like most days, 80 to 90% of days, I'm able to talk to, just take a walk through the pits and talk to just about every full-time driver, and stories outside of that as well. A typical day for me is, like I said, we show up at the track. I help them set up as much as I can. I write out the rundown for pre-race shows. I'm communicating with the studio as far as, ideas and stuff like that, and planning out their portion of the pre-race show as well. Whenever I know that he's in a good spot and he kind of clears me to like, hey, go do whatever you need to do, that's when I go walk around the pits and get my stories. We go get our interviews and, talk to our drivers. We become friends with a lot of the drivers and the crew members too. So, we're on the road with them every week. So we like to go and mingle with them and say, hey, how was that casino you went to last week and stuff like that. So that's a big part of it that I think probably we don't realize it because we never sit and think about it, but we actually really enjoy that part as well. Mingling with them and stuff. So yeah, I try to, go through the pits as much as I can and never leave a story left untold. And that's one thing that I feel like Johnny and myself and Jaxon have done a good job at. Is it's one thing for the social media world to be talking about a story and then us go and talk about it on our broadcast. And I don't know, maybe it's just me being proud of what we do, but I really feel like late last year and this year, we were kind of controlling the narratives in a way. And I know that might sound bad, but I mean that in a good way. The stories that we were putting out for people is what the social media world and the sprint car world we're talking about. And I think that's a good thing. So
it's our job to tell the story, right?
Absolutely.
And I mean, just like 2 weeks ago at Volusia, the air was really, really good, and a couple of guys blew up in hot laps. So we come back and we go figure out what's going on with Donnie Schatz and Brock Zierfoss, who are changing engines, and then we go back to Connor. Oh, hey, the adjusted altitude is this. We want to tell the story before people start. Someone else starts talking about it on social media. We want to be the ones telling the story, and like Connor said, kind of controlling the narrative.
Yeah,
Nice.
sure. So we'll get into our next segment here, which I kind of screwed up on today. Sorry about that. meant to post the question thing way earlier in the day than what I did, but we did get a couple questions. And speaking of you guys becoming friends with the drivers, maybe you guys are friends with this driver. But the first guy to send in a question was Giovanni Selzi.
That's shocking.
So Gio's question is, how many huff and puff spins does it take to get a mansion bonus?
Huff and puff spins does it take to get a mansion bonus? Well, it depends on how committed you are.
Listen, I've never played Huff and Puff, but while Jackson thinks about it, yeah, right. But while Jackson thinks about it, I'll tell you what Gio's approach is, because I've seen Gio play slots.
Okay.
Gio puts $100 in the machine. Actually, I think 200. He puts $200 bills in the machine. Okay, so he says
Six. Final answer at 6.
Okay.
So Gio, back to him, he puts $200 bills in a slot machine, and I mean in the high limit room.
Not always.
Usually in the high limit room. When I went to a casino with Gio, he skipped all the peasant slot machine straight into the high limit room, and puts $200 bills in it, and says, "All right, is it 3 spins?
10 spins.
10 spins. 10 spins, and next one. 10 spins." And if he wins, he cashes out and goes to the next machine.
It doesn't matter if he wins all 10 of those spins. As soon as 10 spins is up, he cashes out and moves on to the next one.
So, and I feel like other people sit there and will play, however much they put in all the way down, no matter how many. But yeah, so that's Gio's approach. I'll tell you my approach at the end of the year.
My approach is make sure when you're playing a slot machine, you have the volume all the way turned up because that improves your chances of winning. I owe Gio for my first ever hand pay. My first ever hand pay came because of Gio.
Nice. What was it? Can you say?
It was, I want to say it was the Gold Link Autumn Moon machine at the Horseshoe in Council Bluffs, Iowa. There you go.
Wow.
Nice.
That's cool.
Well, some good news for you gush is that the American dollar goes a lot further at our casinos, and we've got a couple literally down the street from me that you can come and hang out while you're up here at Hitnosh Weekend. So
Perfect.
Okay, I want to know, is Jacob there with you guys?
Jacob
Bayatsky?
Jacob
Batiki. He's not? Okay, he was the next guy to send in a question. He says, is Kate the best?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
There.
There's
Kate
Kate. There he is.
Back the best. He would run through hell backwards to get to any race.
Literally.
This guy drove from here to Fremont for our Memorial Day race last year just to run replays for me, and then turn around and drove home.
That's commitment.
wow.
He's crazy.
That's cool. Okay, we got one more. And it's from, I'm going to butcher it, S Corn 33. Not sure if you know who that is. Just says, big blocks, yes or no, question mark. Not big block fans, eh?
At Brewerton, yes.
Bruin's a sick racetrack.
I love Burton.
Yeah. That's where, big blocks and just center steer mods are the biggest thing around us.
So the cars, right, are very intriguing to me. I think cars themselves are cool.
Yeah.
I wish they would, I think if we could get my $1 million idea, and we've all talked about this amongst ourselves. My $1 million idea is a Midwest Speed Week for big blocks. Go to Peevely, go to Illinois Bull Ring that the Summer Nationals goes to. You could go to Putnamville. Any of these tracks would be, I think anywhere in the Midwest would be awesome for big blocks. I'm not knocking the New York tracks, but it's a little different up there.
It is.
I just wish the big block guys could get out and travel a little bit more. Go back to Eldora. I think that would be awesome. Big block Knoxville would be super interesting.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But I wish they would get out a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that, to be honest, myself even.
Yeah. I was a big block modified guy just because that's what I first started working on and crewing on. And then now I've switched to sprint cars, and I can tell you I love sprint cars a hell of a lot more than the mud turtles now.
Sure, they're a lot more fun to work on too. I feel like big blocks are kind of a pain to work on.
They're a pain in the fucking ass, let me tell you.
I've covered some big blocks, and I don't hate it at all.
No.
I don't dislike it. I enjoy seeing Matt Shepard and Matt Williamson race against each other. And I actually enjoyed watching the big blocks at Volusia last week, probably more than I've ever enjoyed watching, just because Alex Jankowski as a kid that's
He's
young,
talented,
really freaking good. I think Alex Payne's getting better.
Justin Ayers.
T-Bone, yeah, he was good.
Yep.
The style of racing and the cars, I love open wheel, I love sprint cars. So the style of the racing and the cars are not exactly my favorite, but I love the history. I love how passionate the fans up in the Northeast are.
For sure.
I love going to Oswego and, just
Yeah.
hearing the history of Super Dirt Week and Super Dirt Car Series. I've heard a lot of stories from T-Mac about Barefoot Bob running bid blocks back in the day and stuff like that. If you don't love the racing, you have to respect what bid block racing is. I think it's an incredible community, and it's really impressive.
Super Dirt Week is quite the event for sure.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
To see, like, when you go to Knoxville, like, of course, the town floods with campers, and like, same thing at Eldora, right? But like, like the unique thing about Oswego is like you see all these campers on, like, they're on top of, like, on a hillside.
Yeah.
Like that's and you got guys like they're pitting their cars out of their camper and
Yeah.
like down home, like, or I think it's super unique, super, like, it's crazy up there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that when I first started covering dirt racing and working at my local track, it was like the one event that I, looking back, definitely took for granted, because I think we had, my first year at Merrittville was the last year that we had a big block race because of COVID immediately afterwards, and then sanctioning changing in terms of dirt car stuff. But it's such a unique thing to, like, this Northeast area, and it's so cool. And I'm really proud of, I guess, the coverage that, Dirt Vision's been doing over the last few years. I think it's super well represented by you guys, and to the point where you guys can understand it, respect it, and, enjoy your time with it when you do get the chance to work on it, even in your busy schedules. Last one for me, and this one's for Connor. Actually, I guess it's really for both of you guys, but in terms of presenting a show, like I say, I work at a track. I'm doing the PA announcing there. What's one thing that a local track can kind of learn from what you guys do with Dirt Vision and what you guys do at different facilities every single week that maybe weekly guys can take with them as advice?
Man, that's a good one. I think kind of going back to telling stories, right? People love stories. And if one of your local guys, your local track champ or whatever, if his wife is going into labor the next day and he's hoping that the race gets over early enough so he can drive an hour home to get to the hospital and make for his kid to be born, tell that story. I think one thing that local racing could do better, local racing was huge back in the day because fans that went to the racetrack, they had local heroes to root for. Nowadays, they're relying on the national heroes, the David Ravels, the Sheldon Haudenschiilds, the Kyle Larsons, come in to root for. And I think they still do like their local guys. But I think one thing we could all do as a sport is tell the stories of the local guys a little bit more, a little bit better. My great-grandpa, Chuck Amati, who's in the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame, won a lot of races. He was beloved in places like Illinois, and he spent a lot of time racing in Texas, spent a lot of time racing in Tennessee, Arkansas area. And you still go to those specific areas, and there's people there that to him, he's huge. They love him. But if you go to California, a place that he never raced, people have never heard of him. And it's because he was such a beloved hero in those areas that he did race at, because back then, we had local heroes, and those were things. So anything you can do to tell those local stories, build those local heroes, would take the sport wonders. I mean, if you can imagine a sport where we have a local hero running against a Donnie Schatz, a Kyle Larson, a Sheldon Haudenschiild, that makes for really, really good, just a really good story. So that's my advice.
I agree with that. Especially in, like, we can kind of loop that in with, like, the Dirt Vision stuff, like at the weekly track, like at the weekly level. Like, we have Attica, we have Knoxville, Huset's, and you have your good contingent of local guys, that local heroes, you could say, that when the Outlaws do run into town, they're just as competitive. Like, Craig Mintz, when we go to Attica, he's going to make the dash more times than not. Even
Andy Pate at Fargo.
Yeah. And, like, I think the guys out in California, they do a good job of having the local hero that's still around. My soon-to-be father-in-law, he raced at Placerville for 38 years, and, like, they live right up the road from the track, and, like, that people show out for him, and Andy Forsberg, Sean Becker, guys like that. Those are local heroes right there, guys that run every week in California and stuff like that. As far as like giving advice to people, my big thing, like for the behind the scenes, I guess, people, the producers, your APs, your technical directors, what you're going to get out of the broadcast is what you put into it, what you do to prepare yourself with your equipment, with laying out your show, seeing where you can fit in interviews. If you have a pit reporter, what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. And that's really kind of what I've learned being out here. It's trial by fire. You gotta screw something up to learn, and then to really apply it to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Fair enough.
Yeah, great advice, especially for all the local guys out there. Take notes on that. So we got one more. We always end off the podcast by asking this question, and we get away from the racing a little bit. But what are your guys' hobbies, interests outside of racing and your job? You know, do you like to play sports, golf, go to the casino, that kind of stuff?
We're, I would say for me, it's, and Cade back here, in the last few years, we really owe this all to Anthony Carini, who used to be our timing and scoring guy with the Outlaws. We are die-hard hockey fans.
Nice.
Nice.
That is, I can't get enough of hockey. Just especially this past week, the Four Nations stuff been incredible to watch. And I would say in the last year or two, we've the whole hockey thing's kind of taken off with us. We've been trying to go to as many different stadiums as possible when we're out on the road. We got to go to Chicago and I went to San Jose over the holidays and got to go to a game out there. And, hockey is kind of our big thing when we've been out on the road, and slot machines.
I keep up with sports the best I can. I've always been a huge baseball guy. So close to St. Louis, big St. Louis Cardinals fan. I like the NHL. I'm not super into it like they are. I like going to a hockey game and watching every now and then. I love pro football. Went to a couple NFL games the past year.
Can't forget about my Chiefs. I don't want to.
So sorry to hear that.
Heartbreak.
I am a diehard Chiefs fan, and I have been since day one. Popular to contrary belief, I get the bandwagon card pulled on me all the time, but I just make sure to mention it took like 7 times for me going to Arrowhead before I saw them win a game. I was when Brody Croyle was our quarterback and Matt Castle. Then it was, we deserve every bit of what we've gotten the last couple years.
My last one that Jaxon kind of differs with me on. Jackson's not a concert or a country music guy. I'm huge. I love concerts. Anytime I have an off day or off weekend, I'm usually at a concert, and at 99% it's country music. It's a huge part of my life, and Spotify, I'm probably in the top 1% of listeners in the world with how much I'm listening to Spotify and stuff. So big music guy too, but we try to, do stuff to get our minds off of racing as much as we can.
We go.
Yeah.
It's our way to get the line up.
Nice.
You should ask Connor what happened the last time we went and raced go-karts.
Yeah.
Oh, well, now you got to know.
Yeah.
Look, here's the thing. It's not just the last time. It's every time I've gone, honestly, with the exception of slideways because the speeds are much lower.
Especially when I'm doing the track prep.
Yeah. Motion sickness runs in my family.
Oh, no.
And there's a lot of people in my family that if you put them on a plane or a boat or a long car ride and they're sitting in the back seat, they get motion sick, they get car sick. Fortunately, it doesn't really affect me. I don't mind flying on planes at all. I love boats. The only place it affects me is whenever I kart. So just about any time I'm in a high-speed go-kart, I get car sick. That happened we went in not Jacksonville, Orlando a couple weeks ago, and I did get one race in. I was proud of myself for that, but the second race I had to call off early. Yeah, it was not good.
I was driving.
Needed a relief carter.
Man, where's Connor? Because we had the guy that was doing the modified pit reporting, Peyton Williams. He was there with us too, and we're like racing, and we're like, "Where's Connor?" And then come to find out, he pulled in the pits, and like the guy got mad at him for pulling in the pits, and he's like, "Dude, I'm
sick. I've got to stop." But here's the thing: it's been like that my entire life. It's just something I kind of deal with now.
Does it affect you on the sim rigs as well? Like, does it affect your ability to jump on and try some iRacing or something?
I don't really sim, honestly. I don't mind hopping in somebody else's occasionally, but a couple times I've been in a sim, it's never been a problem.
I played in VR and I don't get motion sick, and I was running like cup cars at Talladega, and I get going and you get flipping, and I'm like, ripping the headset off because I'm like, oh, okay, that's too much. I can't. The iRacing was a fun. I was really into iRacing for a good 2 years and
Same here.
consumed my life, I would say, during the off season. But then, not that she told me to stop playing, but my fiance's like, "Can you put the iRacing stuff away for a little bit?" She's like, "You're oblivious to everything else in the outside world when you're like, I'm like, okay, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Might be for the best.
Yeah."
Well, boys, I think that was awesome interview. Thanks for coming on, and we look forward to seeing you guys when you get up here into Canada. Hopefully, the border crossing and everything goes good, and we see you at Schweigen. But good luck on the road the rest of the year, and have a good one.
In the famous words of Bill Baylog, thanks for having me.
Hey.